Hey guys, I'm Tommy Zamp from Get the Let Out, and today I'm going to do a complete rig rundown of every guitar and amplifier I use and give you a little example of the sounds that I'm getting. As well as what amps I'm using for certain songs. So stay tuned and watch to the very end, and let's get into it. Okay guys, first up I have my Dano 12 string. This thing I got in 2014 actually I was on tour in London with my old band and walked by down on Denmark Street, checked out Hank's Vintage Guitars and did a little window shopping. So this came home with me after that gig. I love this guitar. This guitar is primarily used on Thank You. I also use it on Night Flight, and Eddie uses this on Stairway. This is all in standard tuning, 12 strings. Usually I'm using Ernie ball strings on this. I use Ernie ball strings on everything. Just kind of get that out of the way now. That's it. Danelectro 12 string. Beautiful. Next up, we're gonna go with the Tele. So this is my 2017 Lake Placid Blue Fender Original Series. Boy, this is a mouthful, isn't it? Telecaster in Lake Placid Blue, 60s original. This thing pretty much lives in dadgad tuning. Depending on the set though, like if we're doing back-to-back Tele songs and the tunings are weird, like if I'm doing 10 Years Gone, I'll do that on Tele 2, but if we're doing Hot Dog, then I'll use this guitar and swap into it just to make the flow of the show a little bit easier. This was my very first Telecaster, and this is it's definitely showing some wear and tear. Let's see if we can zoom in. But you can see the nicks and the road worn, but like, you know, I did all of this. I'm not trying to knock some of the aged guitars that you can get now. The Murphy Lab series stuff is really incredible. I really dig it a lot. But there is something special about going, oh, I know exactly the story behind that little nick right there, you know? I did this. Rosewood neck, 21 frets. Everything's original the way it came. Definitely a larger shaped neck profile than the next Tele I'm gonna pull out. But this thing plays so good and sounds great, and it's always gonna be special to me since it was my first Tele. So let's move on. Up next we have the Ultra Series Telecaster in the beautiful plum. This is a CME exclusive, Chicago Music Exchange only, or Andertons if you're in the UK. They were the only other ones that I know of that were carrying the plum color, as well as the Mystic Pine Green, I think is the other one, which I almost went with that. I'm partial to purple. I don't know, it just looks cool, you know? I love Prince, I love purple. Look at this thing. It's ridiculous. This actually has an ebony fretboard on it, 22 frets, and it has the Fender noiseless pickups in it, and they are fantastic. Some of the stages we play, you definitely get a lot of that 60 cycle hum coming through, and single coil pickups can be kind of nightmarish. And the new Fender noiseless pickups that they have in these, I mean, they sound amazing, but they kill the hum. It's spectacular. This also has a push button right here on the volume pot, to where if I wanted to go in the middle position, push that in. These two, it acts as a humbucker pickup. I don't use that with Get the Let Out. I've used it on recordings and other situations, but with Get the Let Out, I don't have a need for that option on this. But it is, it's a cool thing to have if you're, you know, you got a couple days off and you bring your guitar home, you want to lay down some recordings or whatever. It's fun. It just adds some more tone versatility. Metallic gold pickguard. I love this thing. This is my only other Telecaster. It's my second Telecaster. I love it. Look at that. It's amazing. All right, moving on. Oh, and I get a lot of compliments on this strap. This is from Couch Straps. Also a big Bowie fan. My wife actually found this, and she was like, you should get this for the Tele. It matches the pickguard. Look at that. See? Not bad, right? But yeah, a little Bowie lightning bolt on a purple Tele, why not? Let's get into the Les Pauls, what do you say? Alright, so we have a Gibson Custom Shop 60th Anniversary V2 Les Paul Standard in the beautiful orange lemon fade, rosewood fretboard. Yeah, it has the burst bucker pickups in it, I believe. If not, I'll add a little thing at the bottom letting you know that I knew I was wrong before you can tell me I was wrong. How's that sound? Slim tapered neck. I am very partial to the slimmer necks. I don't know, they just fits my hand better. It just feels right. I don't know how else to describe it. Some guys like the old big fat 50s necks, Louisville Sluggers. They're cool, but like this just seems to fit my hand profile better than the latter. And no crazy wiring or anything with this. I use this guitar. This is my main Les Paul. I use this one for opening a show, like say for rock and roll, or you know, I use this on the Stairway solo. And I know all you purists are out there gonna say, Jimmy Page played that solo on a Telecaster. Yeah, I know, but I do it on this so you can deal with it, because this guitar sounds insane. Yeah, anything that needs a big Les Paul body sound out in the tiles, Celebration Day, over the hills, it's all on this one. It gets the job done. I picked this up for the Get the Let Out gig when I found out that I was gonna do this. Hey, you need a burst if you're gonna be replicating some Jimmy Page parts, right? Am I right? Plus you need a burst, so get one. All right, moving on. Also, somebody asked me too, like, do all your guitars have a certain home in your vault? And they do. Everything has its own little spot. I measured everything out. The acoustics are at the end, we'll get to that, but they take up more space. Their bodies are wider, obviously. So every guitar goes in the same spot. And sometimes, if I'm in a rush or whatever, sometimes John has guitars on a stand, so my wah can switch if he's doing something else. Very rarely do they go in different spots. But if it is, it's for a quick moment. All right, so this is my Gibson Les Paul Classic from 2003. I bought brand new. This is my first Les Paul I ever got, and it was hanging on a shelf, and it has, I don't know if you can see it right here, but it's kind of in the shape of South America. You see the knot in the grain? And ever since I saw that, I always like things that are unique to me. I don't want to have the same guitar that everybody has, you know. I just like the uniqueness of things. So yeah, so I call this guitar RG, for short for Argentina, just because of the knot looks like South America to me. This thing is now currently set up for slide guitar, and I use this on Levee, Whole Lot of Love. I'm using it on What Is and What Should Never Be now, and Dancing Days. We do that a lot. I use this on Dancing Days all the time. On this guitar, actually, I just started doing the wraparound down here, which I talked about this in another video, which I'll put up right here, or maybe right here somewhere on the top. There'll be a link. It adds a little bit of slinkiness to the strings. These have 10 gauge strings on them, by the way. All my Teles have 9 gauge strings on it. All Ernie balls, but that's what I'm using. And original pickups in this 490R. Here in a 500T, or right in the bridge. This guitar has done me well. This thing has been all over the world. It's got some war wounds, road war scars, but if anything happened, there's certain guitars that I hold near and dear to my heart, and this would be one of them. Man, it is just something spectacular. It's like magic in this. Your hand just kind of knows it without looking after a while. But yeah, I love this thing. Love it, love it, love it. All right, so what we have here is a 2019 Gibson Les Paul Special in TV Yellow. This was the first year Gibson did the original collection, and I kind of waited on picking it up, and then I found the last one in the Northeast at one point. I couldn't find one. It wasn't in New York, wasn't in Connecticut. The only one in Jersey was in Paramus. But yeah, so I found this in Paramus, and I went out there and I plugged in, played it for a little while, and I took it home. And I wanted a TV Yellow. I love the P90s. I'm a P90 junkie. My SG, which I've also done in that same wraparound tailpiece video, which has a single stop tailpiece as well that I do the wraparound on. but my SG has P90s in it. They just have a cool, jangly, awesome tone to them. And they're very versatile, and that's why I have this. And I used to use this on a lot of other slide stuff, like on What Is and What Should Never Be. That's the Way, Your Time Is Gonna Come. Again, now I'm using a pedal steel, and I'll get to that later on, but this is pretty much set up for slide only, and I use this on In My Time of Dying. Currently, it's in standard tuning. It usually lives in open A, which is In My Time of Dying tuning. A lot of control with the tone knobs and the volume knobs. You can really make this thing sound raunchy. Love this guitar. It's a ton of fun to play. Definitely has a little bit of a thicker profile neck than I would normally go for. It has a nice dark rosewood fretboard, which I absolutely love. It really is a spectacular looking instrument. Who doesn't love TV yellow? All right, moving on. So every once in a while, you come across a guitar that just speaks to you, and you know immediately within the first 5 seconds of picking it up, not even playing a chord, that this was supposed to be yours. Like, you were meant to have that guitar, and that was what this Gibson Hummingbird is to me. This is a 2007 Gibson Hummingbird. This guitar, I have done thousands upon thousands upon thousands of shows with this over the years. It's getting a really beautiful checking on the body. I don't know if you can see it, but I'll do other close-up shots of it. But you can see the lacquer checking in it, really adding a lot of beautiful character to this guitar. Just one of the easiest playing guitars I've ever picked up. Every time I pick this thing up, it just sounds good. So for the strings that I use on my acoustics, I use the Paradigm strings 11 to 52s, and again, all the links and everything, if you want to check them out, pick up some that I'm using, all the links will be in the description below. This has the Fishman pickup in it, and I just think it really does capture that big body tone that you get from a Hummingbird. And I think the Fishman pickup that's in it does a fantastic job of relating that to the PA and whatnot. And if you've ever been to a Get the Let Out show, I use this on Babe, I'm Gonna Leave You. I use this on Going to California. I use this for Stairway, for everything from the, or you know. This is a 2007, yep, it's a 2007 Gibson Hummingbird, and this was my main guitar. Even way before I was in Get the Let Out, I was doing gigs all over with this. Solo acoustic gigs, recording sessions. This thing just, you put a microphone in front of it, it sounds amazing. You plug it in, it sounds amazing. It's one of those magical guitars, and you know, I've played other Hummingbirds that sound great, but they don't give me that spark. They don't hit me with that lightning bolt like this one did. The minute I picked it up, I was like, it's coming home. That's my tried and true Gibson Hummingbird in Heritage Burst. All right, moving on to the last guitar in my guitar vault. This is my Gibson J45. This is a 2018. I bought this one used, maybe it was 2020. I bought it used in 2020, and I had a hankering for the most recorded acoustic guitar in history. It is Gibson's workhorse. Is this still in, this might be still in tuning for Rain Song. I love the tobacco finish on this, and just look at that fretboard too. I am a sucker for a dark rosewood fretboard. I just find them to be beautiful to look at. They're wonderful to play. Now, I was doing a gig, an outdoor gig during the pandemic, and I've always been someone who's like, know your surroundings, you know, like look for overhead obstructions if you're in like tight corners and you're taking your guitar off. I'm not gonna name the place, but I was doing this outdoor gig in underneath this tent, and there was this really thick, I don't know, like 3/4 inch thick steel wrapped wire or whatever, holding something up, and it was like kind of like the shittiest place to put a stage. It was like right underneath this. And anyway, I got done doing my gig, and this was my move. I got done doing the gig, and I went like that. And as soon as I did that, I hit that bar right here, and you can see in the neck, gashed it right here on the top, just a little bit. Cursed myself for about, I don't know, a good 2 weeks. And every time I look at it, you know, it's right in a spot too. I don't look at my hand a whole hell of a lot, but when I do on this guitar, I look down and I'm like, you stupid. Hey man, adds character to it. I don't want these things just sitting in a case to look at. They're made to be played. And you know, just like us as human beings, like it's life. You know, you get scars, you get cuts and bruises and whatnot. Like, you want to take care of yourself as much as possible, but life happens. I think some of the nicks and dings in these guitars really add to its beauty, and at least that's what I tell myself to sleep better at night, right? So on this J45, I use this on the Rain song. I use this for Hey Hey What Can I Do? It's my 2018 J45. So those are the 8 guitars that I take out on tour. This is my guitar vault. John loaded this thing up with stickers, and we have these cool little flashy lights here. I can do this and it changes all the time and really pisses John off. Actually, there it is. Yeah, he hates this. Those are my guitars. Yeah, you know, any questions or comments, leave them below and I'll get back to you. But let's move on to the amplifiers. What do you say? Alright, so let's talk about amplifiers, what I'm using and what songs that I'm using them in. I'm going to go through the whole rig. So let's just start off right here with this pairing. So this is my Orange Custom Shop 50, and I run this in stereo with my 78 Marshall JMP 50. Now, I know all the purists are going to be like, Jimmy Page doesn't use a JMP 50, he uses Super Lead 100. I get it. It sounds great. This is what I'm using, and you use what you can when you have it. And hey, if you've got a late 60s, early 70s hand-wired Super Lead 100 that you want to get rid of, you go ahead and hit me up, and we'll talk shop, okay? But until then, this is what I'm using. I run them through their respective 4x12. So this orange is going through this orange cabinet, which is loaded with 4 Celestia Vintage 30 speakers, and my Marshall is running into this 4x12 cabinet, which has the G12M greenbacks, Celestian greenbacks. And I use this pairing on a lot of, on about 90% of the entire show. So the reason I did this, and you'll see the orange and the Marshall, and then you see the Supro and the Vox. Now the reason I did this is because Jimmy Page didn't use Marshalls on the first record. And what I wanted to do was get as close to the album sound as sonically possible. So that's why I have Zeppelin 2 and Beyond rig, which is generally this, and Zep 1. So anything off of the first record, I use the Supro Black Magick running through. These are 112 speakers. This is the only one that's live. This is just a backup. Plus it also helps keep everything sort of symmetrical, and it's loaded with their BD12. So the cool thing about the Black Magick is they took Page's old 50s Coronado, I want to say it was, that Super Coronado, I think is what he actually used on that first record. I'm drawing a blank now. I could be wrong on that. Don't quote me on it, but I'm pretty sure that's what it is. Anyway, he used his old 50s Supro, and they took it and then they recreated it. Now this has been out for some time, and they came back a few years after this came out and released one with an actual reverb on it. I don't use any reverb on any of these amplifiers. This one doesn't have it. This one doesn't have it. This has no reverb, this one has no reverb, the Vox. So all of my effects, once I get to that, I'll show you, all running through the Axe effects, the Fractal Audio, which I'm using just for effects only. There's no amp modeling whatsoever. I've got 4 amps here. If I can't do it with these 4, then I should figure out another career, right? Also, to point out, you see this little box down here. This is the JR5 remote from Radial, and this is primarily out front by my the Fractal Audio, the MFC 101 board that I use for all the effects. But I have it here just to kind of make things easier for you guys to see how I can switch through. It allows me right now, it's the Marshall and the orange, and then if I go like that, now it's the Supro and the Vox. And if I want the Marshall and the orange as well as the Vox, which I use on a couple of tunes, I have the power to select everything I want right here. I can also do it in the back via the front face of the actual unit itself in the rack mounted unit. But we'll get into that in a little bit. So I'm gonna grab a guitar and let's go through some sounds. So you can see that I'm running everything through that and into this, and I'm really trying to dial in as close as humanly possible every night to get it to sound as close as the record as I can. But like these toys are so much fun to play with, and I think these amps they really sound insane. So let's switch guitars. I'm gonna stick with this before I move on to the other stuff. So another thing that's very important to me when I'm looking at picking up an amplifier is the clean headroom. Like, I want it to be punchy and gnarly sounding like this, but I also, if I need it to clean up, I still want to have the ability to clean that up and still get those crystal chimey, that clean, like you can just hear it in that. then when you punch it and you attack it, you can still get a little hit out of it. But if you want just to dynamically clean it up, just lightly touch it. So that's just one of the things that I can do to get some clean headroom out of these amps, is just play dynamically. Use your volume knob, use your tone knob. Check that kind of stuff out, all right? So let's switch over to the Vox and Supro and see what we can get into. These are the amps. This is a Vox AC30 from 2001. So this is still a Korg era AC30, and this is loaded with Alnico Blue speakers. I'm running it into the normal channel. I'm running the Supro into channels 1 and 2, and channel 1 is dimed. This one's set to, I don't know, probably 3 o'clock, give or take. The tone's almost at noon, and I'll talk about the attenuators that I'm using for the Supro and the AC30 here in a minute, because there's no master volume on either of these. For the Lemon song now, I'm using the Supro and the Vox AC30, and I'm using a Telecaster. I got my tone knob about a quarter of the way off. Volume full tilt, and here we go. It's loud, it's punchy, it's gnarly. It sounds insane. It sounds like Zeppelin. But it's all, again, using your tone knob. This is with the tone bright all the way up. It's too much. It's too brittle. And I don't know if this microphone on the camera is actually picking it up in the way it should be, but I'm telling you, from standing right in front of these amplifiers, they're screaming loud behind me. The high end is really kicking through, so you're gonna have to take my word for it. So I don't always just run 2 amps. Sometimes I'll run 3 of them. I take, for instance, the Solo in 10 Years Gone, or the Solo in Stairway. That I'm using, on both of those, I'm using the Marshall Orange, but I'm also using the AC30 behind me to give it a little bit of that mid-range punch right up the center. And I believe, I'll have to ask him, but I think Chris Chalfin, what he's doing is he's panned both the Marshall and the Orange, respectively, left and right, and then he just gooses that Vox right up the center. And it sounds a little something like this. Now here it is without the Vox. So you can see it's not just a volume thing, but the Vox really does add a ton of that mid-range tone, which just like really cuts through the mix great. All right, so another combination that I use the Orange and the Marshall with is with this Gibson Les Paul Special that I said earlier. I primarily only use this on In My Time of Dying, and I figured I'd give you a little taste of that. Let's check it out. Guys, that's some of the my rig rundown, some of the amps, some of the sounds that I'm getting. Not all of them, because I could be here. There's 75, 76 Zeppelin tunes. I can go through all of them, but that would take forever to upload this video to YouTube. So anyway, let's check out the back. I'm going to show you the attenuators that I'm using, the whole Fractal Audio, and how everything is all kind of connected and set up, and how I can switch through things back there behind the scenes as well, and not have to do everything out front if I need to. All right, so let's check it out. Okay, so this is what I refer to as the mini refrigerator that I have behind all of the cabinets of speakers. It looks a little insane, but it's actually it's not too crazy. I've seen way worse. So basically, what's happening is this Furman, this is powering all of this, but it's pulling power from down here. Doesn't really matter, but that's what's happening. All 4 of my amps are plugged into the AmpRX backline, And on side A, I've got the Marshall and the orange going in here. I like to keep them around 115. They seem to just sound really good there. You get a little more, they get a little more brittle sounding the higher the voltage goes up. But this is a voltage regulator. I should have said that to begin with. And on this side, channel B, I have the Supro and the Vox, and I like to keep them below 115. So this one right now they're set to 111, and I can adjust all of this however I want, get it all the way down to 105 volts. I think they sound great just the way they are, plus it extends the tube life. None of them are running super hot. For as much as this band gigs and plays, I'd be blowing through tubes had I not purchased something like this to keep them from blowing out. This is the Radial JX44, and this is the amp selector essentially. And you have 4 inputs over here, so I could have other guitars. It's all selectable from the front, but I have my wireless unit going into channel 1. All of my wireless packs go into this. This sends it there. This sends it to the amps that are selected, and the effects are coming from the Fractal Audio, literally for reverb, rotary, delay, trem, that sort of thing. I'm not doing any amp modeling whatsoever. I could not be happier. I've used the Kemper before, and I'm not really a big fan of it. It just didn't really sound right for me. I've heard people use them and get incredible tones out of it, but I like things that are easy to use. The Fractal it's kind of difficult, but once you get into it, it really kind of makes itself. You see how it works. It's not as difficult as, say, the Kemper, in my opinion. But that's everything that's going on back here. Down here I have, this is the other wireless I have for my acoustics. They're all the Shure ULX P4s. They've been around forever, but they sound great. I don't feel like I get any sort of tone loss whatsoever out of any of them. So again, I'm a big fan. I use this stuff every night, 130 shows a year, and you know, knock on wood, everything still seems to be working just fine. So fingers crossed I didn't just jinx myself, you know what I mean? And up here, I'll get another shot of it here in a second, but these are the attenuators that I'm using for the Supro and the Vox. So this one right here is the Trainwreck, the Dr. Z Trainwreck air brake that I'm using for the AC30. And I also behind it have the Tone King Ironman 2 Mini, which I use to drop as an attenuator for the Supro. Neither one of those amps, the Supro or the Vox, have a master volume on them, so these things help keep the volume matched with the orange and the Marshall, as well as the bass rig and the other 3 vintage Marshall rigs, full stacks on the other side of the stage, with Paul Hammond uses and Eddie uses. So that is the full rig rundown of everything that I'm using. If you have any questions or comments, please leave them below in the description box. You'll see links to all the gear that I use. I hope you've enjoyed this. Go ahead, hit that like and subscribe, and as always, my friends, please be good to each other, and I'll see you in the next video.